مجمع الأندلس التعليمي، تعلم عصري ملهم بهوية وطنية وقيم إسلامية.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, dear students of grade 10. Mr Aymen is back. A new unit. Unit 10, that's challenging. A new reading lesson. You'll need your student's book, page 124, 125, and probably 134. It's a reading lesson that will be divided into two videos, so try to pay attention, and let's start with our values and how can we participate in building a Qatar that we love and that we will be proud of. And let's remind you of the hadith of the Prophet, peace be upon him. المؤمن القوي خير وأحب إلى الله من المؤمن الضعيف وفي كل خير. And you should also remember the second hadith of our Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. علموا أبناءكم السباحة والرماية وركوب الخيل. And now let's identify our objectives for these two lessons. In the first one, we aim to answer 2 CR questions after skimming the text, and the second objective is to answer 5 multiple choice questions after skimming and also scanning a text. In the second part, in the second video, we will try to relate 5 highlighted words in the text with their meanings, and we aim also to circle the correct words after learning about prepositional phrases, and by the end we will choose the correct choice between 4 or 3 choices in the sentences 1 to 6. Are you ready? So let's first start by learning some words, some vocabulary items, some terms that we will use along the unit and along the lesson.
Rifle, barren landscape, miserable, oxen, immense.
So a miserable person is an unhappy, a sad, a poor person, and immense means very large, huge, and the other words have their visual representations. Now open your student's book on page 124. Look down to the picture of this man, and tell me, where do you think the man and the girl or the child are? Where is the child? It's here, folks. And I want you to answer a second question. What dangers are they facing? So a possible answer for the first question is that they can be in the desert, and a possible answer for the second question, so you can say, for example, I think that the main danger they are facing is not being able to find food or water, and of course becoming too weak to walk. They can even die. Another danger may be that they might not be able to find shelter in the desert. This means that they would not be protected from extreme weather conditions or from dangerous animals or unfriendly people. So these were your answers these were your opinions, but let's read together the text, and I will play the audio for you, so try to follow in your student's book. Again, it's in page 124.
Somewhere in the center of the great North American continent, there is a dry and inhospitable desert which has, for many years, prevented the spread of civilization. This miserable and barren landscape combines mountains, valleys, rivers, and enormous plains, which in winter are white with snow, and in summer grey with dust. A lonely traveler stood on the northern slope of the Sierra Blanco, from where he could see this huge land of miserable nothingness. He looked at the great flat plainland and the chain of mountain peaks on the horizon in despair. There was no sign of life, no movement on the dull grey earth, and no sound to break the absolute silence. As he looked down, he saw a pathway that stretched across the desert. This was the path that so many adventurers had taken in the hope of finding water. But what became of them was clear, as here and there were white objects which shone in the sun and stood out against the grey sand. They were bones, some large and some small. They belonged to oxen and men. It is difficult to say if the traveller was nearer to 40 or to 60. His face was thin and worn. His eyes were sunken in his head. The hand which held the rifle was like a skeleton's. It was clear that he was dying. Dying from hunger and from thirst. He had climbed here in hope of seeing some signs of water, but there was none, and so he realized that his journey had come to an end and that he was about to die. Before sitting down, he put his useless rifle and a large bundle which he was carrying with immense difficulty on the ground. The minute the bundle touched the ground, a cry was heard, and a small, scared face with bright brown eyes appeared from it. "You've hurt me," said a child's voice. "Have I?" the man asked gently. "I didn't mean to." As he spoke, he unwrapped the grey blanket that held the bundle together and took out a little girl of about 5 years of age. The child was pale and weak, but her healthy arms and legs showed that she had suffered less than her companion. "How is it now?" he asked anxiously, as she was still rubbing the back of her head. "Kiss it and make it well," she said, showing the injured part to him. "That's what Mother used to do. Where's Mother?" "Mother's gone. I guess you'll see her before long." "Funny she didn't say goodbye. She's been gone for nearly 3 days. Say, it's very dry, isn't it? Isn't there any water or anything to eat?" "No, there isn't anything, dearie. You'll just need to be patient for a while, and then you'll be all right. Put your head up against me like that, and then you'll feel better." After she had done that, the child fell asleep. He watched over her for some time, but then he too fell asleep. Far away in the distance, a cloud of dust began to rise, and as it came nearer to where the child and man were sleeping, it became clear that a group of nomads was heading in their direction.
I think your anticipations turned true. And so, as we finished with task A, let's move to task B. And here we aim that you read again and answer the questions. These are multiple choice questions, the same that you will face during your end term exam. So you should be familiarized with this type. You should carefully read the text, means you should scan the text, find out where in the text you can find the answers, and answer it. So you can pause the video, reread the text carefully, and I'm waiting for your answers. You came back. So someone please to read the first question and answer it. What characteristics of the landscape? It is always covered with grey dust. It consists only of enormous plains. It combines various natural features, or it is inhabited by a wide variety of animal species. What is your answer? Excellent. It's C. It combines various natural features. To the second question. The pathway proves that the man was not alone. There was no reason to despair. Other travelers had found water, or other travelers had tried to cross the desert. Excellent. There were many signs that other travelers had tried to cross the desert. The third question. What conclusion do we reach after reading the description of the traveler? Shall we think that he is very weak, or he is 60 but looks 40, or he is tired but feels optimistic, or he has a strong chance of survival? Your answer is the first, and it's correct as usual. The next question. What do we learn about the girl? She's dying, or she's big for her age, or she has injured herself badly, or she's healthier than the man. The answer is the last choice. It was clear that she was healthier than the man. The last question. It is evident from the passage that the man doesn't care about the girl. The man is concerned about the girl. The girl's mother is going to join them, or the man is sure that everything is going to go all right. So, your answer is the second, and it's true. The man is concerned about the girl. Yes, Radhi? You want the justification for each of these answers? It's your right. So, this is the justification for the first question. This miserable and barren landscape combines mountains, valleys, rivers, and enormous plains. The justification for the second, this was the path that so many adventurers had taken in the hope of finding water, but what became of them was clear, as here and there were white objects which shone in the sun and stood out against the grey sand. They were bones, some large and some small. The justification for the third, his face was thin and worn, his eyes were sunken in his head. The hand which held the rifle was like a skeleton. The justification for the fourth, the child was pale and weak, but her healthy arms and legs showed that she had suffered less than her companion. And the justification for the last, "You've hurt me," said a child's voice. "Have I?" the man asked gently. "I didn't mean to." "How is it now?" he asked anxiously. So these were the justifications from the text. And now, I will be happy if you take 1 minute to summarize the text in 1 minute. I will wait for your answers. And for the moment, I invite you to ask your teacher of social studies about hard condition in the North American continent and to compare it, if you want, to the climate and hard conditions in the Gulf. And now to task D, which is the last task in this first part. Someone to read the instruction, please. Read the note and answer the questions. The writer of the story uses the following techniques. Foreshadowing, which means to give the reader a hint of what will happen later on. Cliffhanger, which means ending a chapter or an episode in suspense. And the direct speech, of course, means to set the character's exact words in quotation marks as they were said. Now I want you to carefully read the questions down and answer them. Pause the video and do it. Here we are. So let's start with the first question. What effect does the direct speech have on the reader? It creates a sense of immediacy in the readers and makes the reader feel as if they are taking part in the story. He feels engaged. The second question, from the exchange between the man and the girl, between the lines 32 to 51, what can you infer about the character of the girl's father and mother? The girl's parents seem to be caring people who treat her well. The third question, from the same exchanges as above, what assumptions can you make about what has happened to the girl's mother? I think the mother died because the girl said that she didn't say goodbye to her mother, and also the man didn't tell us that she can meet her again, or at least in the near future. The fourth question, the story ends in a cliffhanger. What are you led to believe may happen? The nomads will get lost in the desert. The man and the girl may never wake up. The girl's mother will return with the nomads, or the man and the girl may be saved by the nomads. I opt for the last one. That's your choice. Great. So let's think of these techniques, and I invite you to think of these questions and to send me your answers. Think high, as you have always done. When will you use these techniques? Who generally use them? And how should we behave to not be misguided? Let's finish with a World War game. And let's classify those techniques into persuasive techniques and narrative techniques. Point of view, and here we are talking not about the opinion but about the first person narrator, about the third point of view, so it's a narrative technique. What about statistics? They are used to persuade, the same as rhetorical questions, the same as, yes, the direct speech is used as a narrative technique, and the simile also as a narrative technique, and sometimes you can repeat to convince and persuade. Let's verify your answers. Nice job. You need more challenge? Let's think of a second game. Copy the link, go to World War, take your time to do it and come back with the correct answers. And here we are at the end of this first part. Thank you for your attention. Wait for the second part.
مجمع الأندلس التعليمي، تعلم عصري ملهم بهوية وطنية وقيم إسلامية.